Keep in mind that transitioning is a lengthy process that varies from person to person. That process includes one's daily life, called re-socialization. Some people have difficulty making the transition. Unlike most, Cassandra lights up the stage.
If you've ever been to a good show, people enjoy it. You know, I saw people in the crowd clapping and having fun, and to me that was the closest thing at the time that I was going to get to being a star.
Cassandra is unique because she has a lifestyle she loves.
As hard as my life has been at times, and still continues to be at times, I pick myself up.
Normally, people who transition face an uphill battle to feel accepted in the workplace.
You know, to be the prettiest or to have the cutest clothes. And first of all, San Francisco is very aware of transsexuals, so they're really good at like knowing who is what and what is what.
Well, I mean, transgender people is equal to us as anyone else is. You know, black, white, straight, gay, transgender, transsexual. You know, everyone is equal. That's the way I feel.
Everybody should have the freedom to pursue whichever lifestyle or gender choice they want to make.
I generally feel safe when I travel, but I'm always aware that something could, all it takes is one person who's bigoted or hateful and it can turn into a bad situation.
What happens in San Francisco are a couple of things, and one is that transgender people migrate here because there's favorable policies and laws in place that will protect transgender people from employment, housing, and public accommodations discrimination.
Making a change physically is one thing, but what about the simple things? Like a driver's license, a social security card? In some countries outside the U.S., getting a new ID card for your gender is not allowed. But in the United States, it can be done.
I would say that arguably sometimes the paperwork is harder to deal with than the actual process itself. There are plenty of doctors available who will prescribe hormones. There are doctors available who have the technology to do the kinds of surgical reconstructions that different people engage in. For me, it was doing things like changing my social security and most recently getting a passport. So in order for me to get a passport to go to Canada, I had to take my old social security card and my old college ID that showed that that was my social security number and my birth certificate that has Mary Lynn Weatherly on it, and I had to draw the paper trail between that person and this person. So essentially, tell the story of my life and transition to an absolute stranger who would decide whether or not I was man enough to get that M on my passport. But I'm really happy to say that I got the passport, 10-year passport with an M, so I'm good.
I mean, if that's what they want to do, then, I mean, that's fine with me. But to have a relationship with a transgender person, the answer would be no.
Just not what I would go for. There's many, many women in the world. She wasn't born a woman, I just wouldn't really be interested in that.
There are lots of folks who are in relationships when they transition and those relationships stay intact. There are lots of folks who parented children biologically before transition, and those relationships obviously are there. There are people who become foster parents and step-parents after, so there's lots of happily married, raising the kids kind of people. Some people lose their families, some people lose their parents, not everybody does. And some of us find other family when we've lost family of origin.
I just wanted a regular guy who liked regular sex, and so now, having a sex change, I feel like it's a lot easier if I meet a guy who's, you know, like he just hits on me thinking maybe I'm a girl, and you know, it's a lot easier to say, well, I've had a sex change versus, hey, I've got what you have, if that makes sense. Like, a lot of them will still want to have sex with me, straight men, but it's a whole nother thing of, do they want to date me? Do they want to introduce me to their friends? Do they want to take me home to mommy and daddy? That's a really hard one, you know, so that is still a huge issue and probably always will be in my life, to find a guy who is comfortable enough and strong enough with himself to deal with the pressure he's going to get from other people by being with me.
I'm sure they're not. I have no sort of personal experience to draw on to back that up, but I'm almost positive that they're discriminated against on a regular basis.
Likes or dislikes, to me they're like everybody else, they're human beings, and so I don't have any, like I said, a bias one way or the other.
Everyone is equal, and no one should be treated. First of all, nobody should be treated badly. No one should be treated badly. But just because someone's transgender, they should be treated badly. That's ridiculous.
I mean, to me, they should be treated like everybody else, the same rights as anybody who has other orientations.
I'm just human. I'm really a lot like you, just like you in more ways than you could imagine. And please, if you see a person like me, or you see someone who's prettier or uglier, please just treat them like a human being. If you want to giggle and make fun of them, at least wait till they are out of distance and they don't notice. I mean, just treat people the way you want to be treated. That whole line has been said over and over and over, but I really wish people would actually do it.
After having done this show, I've come to the conclusion that we are all human. How we feel about ourselves is important, but how we treat others is the most important, regardless of one's gender.